Om Jnanathimiranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shreyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Shri Shachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Before we begin, I would want to express my heartfelt gratitude at the lotus feet of Abhay Charanaravinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, because of whose endeavor we are able to taste something. We are able to taste the lofty fruit of Braja Prem that Krishna came down to give, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came down to give. Similarly, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the devotees for coming back. As Bhavik mentioned, it's not a weekend, it's a working day. And in less than 12 hours time, we are again back to our office schedule. So when it's a holiday, the morning part of the holiday is very enjoyable because you still have some amount of time left. But by the time it's sunset, even though it's a holiday, the mind starts thinking from tomorrow again back to square one. I have to start again attending meetings and the same old routine. So it's already evening time, but still I am so grateful for all of you all for very kindly coming, very kindly filling the poll. Different timings were presented, different devotees gave different timings, but I think based on the majority, we decided that 5 to 7 suits most of the devotees. So genuinely expressing my gratitude to all the devotees. Please pray for me, please bless me so that I can speak some favorable words in the glorification of today's topic. Please accept my very humble obeisances. Vansha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Yes. I just thought I'll turn on one more light. So Hare Krishna. So in our previous discussions, we finished the pastime of Kaliya. We also had the pastime of the forest fire. In the pastime of Kaliya, in the previous class, we also spoke about the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. We did some lotus feet meditations. And we also discussed as to how the Supreme Lord delivers Kaliya. He chastises Kaliya and asks Kaliya to go back to his hometown, that is the Ramanik Islands or the Fiji Islands. And then there was the forest fire pastime, where Krishna very easily, he swallows the whole of the forest fire. So that was Canto 10, chapter 17. So in our previous two discussions, we have covered Canto 10, chapter 16 and Canto 10, chapter 17. So naturally, we will be starting Canto 10, chapter 18 from today. And like we always mention, like already Bhavik mentioned, if we can turn on the videos, that will be a little helpful for the speaker, because otherwise the speaker, all that he sees is a blank screen. So it's very difficult for a speaker when he just sees a blank screen, whether the audience are attentive, whether they're hearing, whether they're lying on the bed, whether they are appreciating it, whether they're not appreciating it. It's very difficult. So if possible, if we are at home and if we can turn on the videos, that's completely okay. But if we have some other commitment, some temple service or anything like that, that's completely fine. Feel free to turn your video off. But if we are at home and if we can turn on the videos, that would be highly appreciated. So like we start our discussions in the previous two classes also, we started our discussions by glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. And likewise, we will start our today's discussion also by glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. In the previous two classes, we took shelter of Sripad Sanatan Goswami's work. And likewise, in today's class also, we will take shelter of Sripad Sanatan Goswami's Krishna Leela Stava. Sripad Sanatan Goswami, in his Krishna Leela Stava, very beautifully, he glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, Asadhu sadhuta dain ati nicha uchataraka hana muncha kadachinmam premnarit kantayospuraha. Sripad Sanatan Goswami is praying. He is putting forward a request to Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the request? Asadhu sadhuta dain. Srimad Bhagavatam has this quality that it can give sadhuta. It can give saintly qualities. It can give good qualities to someone who does not have good qualities. Sadhu means someone who possesses good qualities. And naturally, asadhu, the negation, means someone who doesn't have any good qualities. So, asadhu sadhuta dain. Dain, it gives good qualities to someone who does not have any good qualities. It's a perfect match. Asadhu sadhuta dain ati nicha ucha taraka. Someone who is very nicha, someone who is very low class. By studying Srimad Bhagavatam, he becomes so qualified that he is no longer nicha, he becomes ucha. He becomes very high class. He becomes very advanced. We say that, oh, this devotee is very advanced. He is very high class. Where does that advancement come from? Where does that high class quality come from? It comes from studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Ati nicha ucha taraka. Those who are nicha, those who are very low class, they become very high class. And in fact, in Kali, everyone is low class, because in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it describes Kalau Shudra Sambhava. In Kali, everyone is a Shudra. Gone are those days where someone is born in a Brahminical family. Just like if someone is born to a doctor, just by being born to a doctor, someone does not become a doctor. He has to possess the qualities of being a doctor. Similarly, just by being born in a Brahminical family, someone does not become a Brahmana. He has to possess those qualities and he has to earn the right of being a Brahmana. So in Kali, everyone is a Shudra, everyone is Nicha. But it's by applying the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's by studying Srimad Bhagavatam that the person who is Nicha becomes Ucha. Someone who is low becomes very high class. So what was the first quality? Asadhu, sadhuta dain. Someone who is asadhu, he gets sadhuta, he gets good qualities. The second quality of Srimad Bhagavatam is ati nicha ucha. It's not even nicha. Sripad Sanatan Goswami says ati nicha. Someone who is very, very low class, he becomes very, very high class. Ati nicha ucha taraka. The only prerequisite is we have to consider ourselves nicha. If we accept the fact that we are nicha, then Srimad Bhagavatam is ready to uplift us. But if we already consider ourselves ucha, then it's the wavelength doesn't match. It's a mismatch. So if we are humble enough to recognize that we are low, then Srimad Bhagavatam is ready to pull its sleeves up and remove us from the gutter of the material world. Like one Prabhupada disciple was once mentioning, he was saying that we were all lying in the gutters of New York City, having no idea about Krishna consciousness, having no idea about the goal of life. But Prabhupada, very skillfully, he came to New York City. He came to Boston Harbor. He rolled his sleeves up. He put his hand inside the gutters of New York City. Not in the literal sense, but New York, as we know, is very tamasic place. So he was saying Prabhupada rolled his sleeves up, put his hand inside the gutters of the New York City and pulled all of us up. And not just pulled all of us up, but now he has also thrown us back home, back to Godhead. What was our qualification? Nothing. Srila Prabhupada very kindly came and delivered all of us. So Ati Nicha Uchataraka. Someone who's low becomes very high class by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Asadhu Sadhuta Dain Ati Nicha Uchataraka Hana Muncha Kadachin Mam. Now Sripad Sanatan Goswami is offering a request. He is begging Srimad Bhagavatam. He's saying Hana Muncha Kadachin Mam. Hey Srimad Bhagavatam, never leave me. Please give me this benediction that you will never leave me. You will always stay with me. Why is Sripad Sanatan Goswami saying this? Because Sripad Sanatan Goswami, at the age of 97, Sripad Sanatan Goswami would do Giriraj Parikrama by foot. Now, for those who have done Giriraj Parikrama will know how difficult it is to walk 21 kilometers without any rest and just on water, a liter of water or 2 liters of water. After we finish those 21 kilometers, invariably most of the devotees who have no habit of doing it, they just crash. They're done for the day. So that is why generally it is always recommended that when devotees go on a Vrindavan Yatra, the Giriraj Parikrama should always be done on the last day. Because if you do Giriraj Parikrama on the first day with no practice, all the remaining 5 days you will just be in the room with the AC on. So all your thousands of dollars go for a toss. There is no yatra and you're completely tired and worn out. So the ideal recommendation always is Giriraj Parikrama is done on the last day, so that even if you're tired, it's now time to go back. So you are not losing on anything. So Sripad Sanatan Goswami, at the age of 97, would do Giriraj Parikrama by foot. Now, if this is amazing, let me tell you something more interesting. Sripad Sanatan Goswami would do it every single day, not once in a month, not once in a year, not once in 5 years. He would walk 21 kilometers every single day. So much attachment for Giriraj. So now Sripad Sanatan Goswami is in a dilemma. What's the dilemma? Sripad Sanatan Goswami, because he's walking 21 kilometers, it's very difficult to hold Srimad Bhagavatam in your hand. When you're doing Giriraj Parikrama, to hold 12 cantos in your hand is impossible. So Sripad Sanatan Goswami is saying, I am old and I have to do Giriraj Parikrama every day. But at the same time, I cannot hold all the cantos. So Srimad Bhagavatam, I am begging you. You are not different from Krishna. And I am requesting you, I am begging you. What's the prayer? Hana muncha kadachin mam. Please never leave me, Srimad Bhagavatam. Premna rit kantayos puraha. With prema, with love, stay in my kantha, stay on my throat. Please never leave me. Why? Because, O Srimad Bhagavatam, if you, in the form of your verses, always stay on my kantha, then whenever I want, I can pull up those verses and I can associate with you. But Srimad Bhagavatam, if you are not there on my kantha, even if I do Giriraj Parikrama, I cannot associate with you. So our dilemma is also very similar. When we go out, it's very difficult to carry Srimad Bhagavatam in our hand. So we can also offer this prayer to Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srimad Bhagavatam, you are not different from Krishna. You give sadhuta, you give saintly qualities to those who have no saintly qualities. You uplift those who are very niche. Srimad Bhagavatam, please give me this benediction that you will never leave me and you will always stay on my kantha. So whenever I want, I can pull up those verses and very easily I can chant those verses and get satisfaction. So this is something that we can always chant every single day to Srimad Bhagavatam. At the same time, the deal is not done just by chanting this verse. After this also, we have to make some endeavor to sit and study Srimad Bhagavatam. Only then the verses will be there on our throat. But nonetheless, we can pray to Srimad Bhagavatam this way. So in our previous 2 classes also, we discussed 2 more verses. So all in all, we have discussed 3 verses in the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can by heart all the 3 verses and we can chant these verses to Srimad Bhagavatam. So that Srimad Bhagavatam, who is not different from Sri Krishna, becomes happy with us and decides to sit on our throat and on our tongue, so that whenever we want, we can very easily pull up and we can chant. There is no need for Veda base also. If all the verses are here, there is no need for Veda base. We can easily chant those verses. So having said this, having offered our prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam, who is not different from Sri Krishna, let us start our today's discussion. As I mentioned at the start, that we stopped at the point where Krishna swallowed the forest fire. And we described the pastime of Hayagriva Prabhu as to how Srila Prabhupada as Guru Tattva can extinguish and can swallow the forest fire of past temptations that are there in our life also. So that was Canto 10, Chapter 17. And now interestingly, there was once a king who decided to come to the land of Vrindavan. So this king sat on his chariot. He didn't ask his ministers to accompany. He sat on the chariot and he reached the outskirts of Mathura. And he reached the outskirts of Vrindavan. And when he reached the outskirts of Vrindavan, he parked his chariot and decided to walk to the land of Braj. He entered Vrindavan Dham and he saw an old lady. And he asked this old lady, can you please tell me where Nanda Mahal is? Can you please tell me the house of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maiya? Can you please tell me where Krishna resides, where he lives? And this old lady was none other than Purnamasi Devi, Yogamaya personification. Yogamaya in Vrindavan is Purnamasi Devi. So this old lady, that is Purnamasi Devi, when she heard that someone is asking for the address of Krishna in the land of Vrindavan, it only means that he is new to Vrindavan. Because if someone has been to Vrindavan a couple of times, he will definitely know where Nanda Maharaj stays. Now, because this king was asking for Krishna's address, it was safe to say that this was his first visit to the land of Braj. And he had no idea where Krishna or Nanda Maharaj lived. So Purnamasi Devi, she understood that it's an intruder. Trespassers will be prosecuted. So he was a trespasser. He was an intruder. So Purnamasi Devi, she's like the filter. Just like, we have water filters, RO water filter. Whatever impurities you have gets accumulated in the filter, so that whatever water we drink is safe and we are not diseased by it. Similarly, in the land of Vrindavan also, we have a filter for Krishna's pastimes. Filters such that that person is not an impediment for Krishna's pastime. That person is not harming Krishna. That person is not a distraction for Sri Krishna. And that filter in Vraj is Purnamasi Devi. There are 2 personalities, Purnamasi Devi and Brinda Devi. They are not just the filters, but they are the orchestrators of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. What time Krishna will be where, what time Krishna will meet Radharani, what are the pastimes that occurs, who will decorate the kunja of Radharani, who will decorate the kunja of Lalita Sakhi. All this planning is done by Brinda Devi and Purnamasi Devi. And to help Brinda Devi, she has her parrots. We see those who have been to Brinda Kund, they can still see there are thousands and thousands of parrots still, they will still keep making lots and lots of noises. Even if you go to Prem Sarovar, even in Prem Sarovar, you will find so many parrots will be there. Nice green colored parrots with red beaks. So Brinda Devi, she takes help of these parrots. So Brinda Devi and Purnamasi Devi go hand in hand and they orchestrate Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, and they also act as filters. If someone is not qualified, thrown out, straight away thrown out. So this king who was asking for Krishna's address, Purnamasi Devi understood that he is an intruder. He has no idea where Krishna is living. So Purnamasi Devi held the hair of this king and she took this king. Now in those days, the kings would have long hair. The hair would go up to the knees. So it's not that Purnamasi Devi was dragging the king by the hair, but the hair was so long that she was just holding the hair and taking him. She held the hair and made this king take a few dips in one of the kund in Vrindavan. And now when this king came out, he was no longer that king. He was no longer that king who was puffed up and proud, but he came out as an old lady. He came out as an old lady, completely wrinkled. The back was semicircular, not able to walk, not able to talk, not able to see, not able to move. Gone were those kingly qualities. Now he was an old lady. So Purnamasi Devi looked and she said that before meeting Krishna, you have to do some service. You should do some seva. Prabhu kahe Vaishnav seva naam sankirtan doi karo shigra pabe Shri Krishnera charan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in order to meet Krishna, we need to do two things. Prabhu kahe Vaishnav seva and naam sankirtan. Serving the devotees and chanting the holy name. Dui karo shigra pabe Shri Krishnera charan. By doing these two things, one gets Krishna very fast, very quickly. So now it was time to do some Vaishnava seva for this old lady. So Purnamasi Devi was thinking, what will she do? She looks very incapable. She doesn't look in a position to do anything. So Purnamasi Devi called a few cowherd girls of Vrindavan, a few Braja Gopis. And Purnamasi Devi said, please engage her in some service. Give her some seva. Once she does seva, and if she's qualified, then we can allow her to meet Krishna and Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya. So now the Braja Gopis were thinking amongst themselves and they were giggling and chuckling and they were thinking, what seva can she do? She is so old. She's not even able to stand properly. And they finally decided that let us do one thing. Oh, old lady, you can do the service of picking up the cow dung and making cow dung patties. You see in Vrindavan, you have so many cow dung patties. Even in our Krishna Balram Mandir, the whole of Brahmachari ashram is made from cow dung. Sripada Indra Prabhu in the 1990s took cow dung and the whole of Brahmachari ashram, 3 floors, he made it with cow dung and nice, beautiful designs. So in Braj, it's very common that in many houses also, we see cow dung because in summer season, when there is cow dung, there is nice cooling atmosphere inside the house. And likewise, it goes back and forth. So Purnamasi Devi gave this instruction to this old lady that you pick up some cow dung, make some cow dung patties, and then once you do this, then we will see. Aage ka dekh lenge. First do this. So she said, okay. And she sat down to pick some cow dung. And you see in Braj, they make cow dung and they stick it onto the walls. Many times you find they stick it onto the walls. And now this service was given. But she would pick up the cow dung and by the time she would put on the walls, the cow dung would just spread all over. And the Braja Gopis would laugh, thinking, she doesn't even know to do this much. This is so easy. It's like the most rudimentary thing, but she doesn't even know to do that much. And they were laughing. And time just went by and she was really pathetic at doing it. So the Braja Gopi said, enough. It's enough. It's time. We thought probably you could do this, but you're not even capable of doing this much. Aapse na ho paega. Aap rehne dijiye. Aapse na ho paega. So you just leave it. And then Purnamasi Devi looked at this old lady and said, you can't even do this much. This old lady said, don't trouble me like this. Let me just go. I came here to meet Krishna, but you're not allowing me to meet Krishna. You changed my form and now you're asking me to make some cow dung patties. Let me just go. Don't trouble me. If you cannot help me meet Krishna, let me just go. And Purnamasi Devi said, well, if you want to go back, then you have to again go to that kund, take your bath, and then you can go back to the place from where you came. This old lady, she went, she took a dip and she came out. And when she came out, she came back like that of the king. The original attire, sat on the chariot and in one go marched his way back to Mathura. Dear devotees, who was that king? He was Kamsa. Kamsa came to Vrindavan Dham because Kamsa was always thinking, I am sending so many demons. Krishna is killing one demon after another. Let me do one thing. I'll stop sending demons. I will personally go. All this while I was sending demons, but it seems like it's not working. Let me personally go to the land of Vrindavan and finish this game once and for all. So Kamsa, with that desire, he came to Braj. But leave alone meeting Krishna. Purnamasi Devi was so skilled and so powerful that she herself kicked Kamsa Maharaj out. And Kamsa Maharaj, he came with his head held high, but when he went back, he was so shameful and he was feeling so embarrassed that he lost to an old lady in the land of Vrindavan Dham. He was kicked out from the land of Braj. Because we find this land of Vrindavan is the land of Srimati Radharani. She's called as Vrindavani Ishwari. Ishwari means the Lord. Like Krishna is called Vrindavaneshwar. Radharani is called Vrindavaneshwari. She is the Lord and Vrindavan is the place. So in order to get entrance into the land of Vrindavan, we need the recommendation. We need IDC certificate. We need recommendation letter from the local temple president. Similarly, in the land of Vrindavan, you need recommendation from Srimati Radharani, because Vrindavan Dham is Srimati Radharani's land. We have to please Srimati Radharani to get entrance into the land of Vrindavan. And now the question arises, how do we please Srimati Radharani? Well, Radharani is pleased when Krishna is pleased. When Krishna is pleased, Radhika is pleased. When Radhika is pleased, Krishna is pleased. Goes back and forth. So in order to please Radharani, we have to please Krishna. And to please Krishna, we have to please Radharani. So to get entrance to the land of Vrindavan Dham, which is Vrindavaneshwari's land, we have to please Krishna. And we please Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The more we take Krishna's names, more Radhika is happy. And the more we take Radharani's name, more Krishna is happy. We find in the 6th canto, in the pastime of Ajamil, Yamaraj quotes a very interesting verse. Yamaraj there, he says, Jivhana Vakti Bhagavad Gunanama Dheyam Chetaschana Smarati Tacharana Krishnaya no namati yachira ekadapi tan ana yadvyamasato kritu Vishnu Krityan. Yamaraj is quoting this verse. Yamaraj is telling the Yamadutas, he is saying, bring only those people to me who fall in these 3 categories. He is giving 3 categories. If we fall in any of these categories, then we are sure shot candidates for Yamaraj's red carpet entry. We will definitely get a red carpet entry in Yamaraj's abode if we fall in any of these 3 categories. What are the 3 categories? First, Jivhana Vakti Bhagavad Gunanama Dheyam. If a person not even once in his life has ever chanted the name of Krishna, Jivhana Vakti Bhagavad Gunanama Dheyam. First, if someone not even once has chanted the name of Krishna. Second, Chetaschana Smarati Tacharana. And if someone has not remembered the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord even once. This is the second quality. That's why we were discussing about the lotus feet so much in our previous class. First, if someone has not chanted the holy name even once. Second, Chetaschana Smaratita Charanaravindha. If someone has not remembered Charanaravindha, the lotus feet of the Lord. That was second. Third, Krishna Yano Namati Yat Shira Ekadapi. And third, if someone has not offered obeisances to the Supreme Lord even once. You see, many times when someone is relatively new, they may come to the temple, but they may feel a little shy to offer obeisances. Log kya sochenge? Log kya bolenge? How can I bend down? I am the president of the company. I am the vice president of the company. How can I bow down in front of someone? So many people are looking at me. The CCTV cameras are there. Embarrassment to offer obeisance to Krishna. So Yamaraj says, If someone falls under any of these categories, he tells the Yamudutas, give them a red carpet entry and nicely, with nice felicitation, bring them to me, because they're sure shot candidates for hell. Someone who's not using his senses to remember Krishna, not using the tongue to chant, not using the mind to remember lotus feet, and not offering obeisance to the Lord even once. Clear instructions to Yamadutas, 3 kinds of people. So we are all very fortunate by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that we are not falling in any of these categories. We are chanting the holy name, we also remembering the lotus feet, and at the same time we also offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord, either in the temple or in our house. So the land of Vrindavan is achieved only when Radharani is satisfied, when she is pleased. And Radharani is satisfied when someone is chanting the names of her Krishna. When Krishna's names are constantly chanted, Radharani becomes satisfied, and that's when we get entrance to the land of Vrindavan Dham. So we find that our darling son of Mother Yashoda, Yashoda Nandan Shri Krishna, Nandanandan Shri Krishna, was playing in his courtyard. Once a Braja Gopi, she came to the house of Yashoda Maya, and after speaking to Yashoda Maya for a very long time, it so accidentally happened that when she was leaving, she forgot her bracelet. She forgot her bracelet in the courtyard of Nanda Mahal. And she had gone halfway. And after going halfway, she realized that, wait a minute, I have forgotten my bracelet. So she again came back. Sripad Bilva Mangala Thakur very beautifully describes this pastime. He says, Nijangane kankanakeli lolam gopi grihitva navanita golam amartayet panitalena netre govinda damodhara madhaveti. Bilva Mangala Thakur describes that this Braja Gopi, she had forgotten her bracelet, kankana. Nijangana kankana keli lolam. She forgot the bracelet. So now she came back. When she came back to collect the bracelet, what she sees? Our Krishna is sitting on the ground, is sitting on the mud with both his legs completely spread out and is playing with those bracelets, completely oblivious to the world. He is Bhagavan, but he is sitting with his legs spread completely, sitting on the mud and playing with that bracelet. You can imagine. He is the Lord, but he is sitting down and just playing with the bracelet, just like small children do. If they have a bracelet, with that bracelet, sometimes they play like a car. It becomes like a wheel, and they keep moving that wheel as if it's a car. So Krishna was playing with that bracelet that way. He was moving around and around and around, completely oblivious to everything. So now, this Braja Gopi wanted her bracelet. She had come all the way. As we mentioned in the previous class, Krishna is smart. The gopis are even more smart. Krishna Bhakta Ei Bada Chatur. The devotees of the Lord are even more smarter. So the Braja Gopi, she understood that if I ask Krishna, Krishna is very adamant. He will not give me. He will show all tantrums, but he will not give me that bracelet. She is also very intelligent. Sripad Bilva Mangala Thakur says, Gopi grihitva navanita golam. She went to the house of Maya Yashoda, and from inside she brought a ball of butter. Krishna's weak point. She brought the ball of butter. And now the Gopi, from behind she came, and with her palm she closed the eyes of Shri Krishna and placed the butter next to his nose so that Krishna could smell, but Krishna could not see, tempting him but not giving him. So Krishna was playing with the bracelet, and now Krishna starts smelling the butter. He puts the bracelet to the ground and Krishna is smelling. This seems like a familiar fragrance. I have had this fragrance so many times in the past. And the Gopi says, Krishna, this is Navanita Golam. This is a ball of butter. You like butter, right? And Krishna says, yes, I like butter. And Gopi says, Krishna, there is a condition. The condition is you will get this ball of butter, but for that, you have to go and sit inside your house and eat. If you eat outside, the butter may fall to the ground. And if it falls to the ground, it may get mixed with the mud. And if you eat mud, Krishna, you may fall ill. So you can go inside and eat. And Krishna in one go, when the gopi removes her palm, Krishna looks at the butter, holds the butter ball in his hand, and in full speed, like a Ferrari car, Krishna runs inside his house. And when Krishna runs inside his house, he runs inside his room and starts eating the butter. And now Krishna is thinking to himself that he has won the game. Krishna is thinking to himself that he has tricked the gopi and he has got the ball of butter. But it's actually the gopi who has tricked Krishna, because as Krishna has gone inside, he has forgotten the bracelet with which he was playing. One ball of butter makes the Lord forget everything. He goes completely spiritually mad seeing a ball of butter. The Supreme Lord, as Prahlad Maharaj describes, is not behind any of our material assets. All that the Lord looks for is our heart. Today, being Pushya Abhishek, Pushya Purnima, when flowers are offered to the Supreme Lord, it's that day where apparently the gopis heard the verse Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. The gopis thought to herself that Krishna is asking for Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. In Vrindavan, there is so much Pushpam, there is so much flower. Krishna, we will not just give you one flower, we will bathe you in box and boxes of flowers. And they went deep inside the forest, and from every forest they got the best among flowers and started bathing Krishna with all those flowers, just so that Krishna is satisfied. Because if Krishna is satisfied, Radharani is satisfied. For the gopis, their agenda is to please Radharani, but Radhika is satisfied only when Krishna is satisfied. So they offer all the flowers to Krishna so that Krishna gets satisfied, and in turn Radharani is satisfied. If Radharani is satisfied, the gopis and the manjaris are completely satisfied. So Krishna is only looking for our heart and nothing else. So that day, when our heart becomes white in purity like the butter and soft in compassion like that butter, that's the day Krishna will come and steal our heart away. The aim of Krishna consciousness is only one thing: to make our heart soft in compassion like butter. After coming to bhakti, our heart should melt, our anger should go down, our compassion should increase. That is the side product of bhakti. Our heart should melt. So heart should become soft in compassion, and it should become white in purity, just like the butter. So this is the Lord whom we worship, the Lord filled with sweetness. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami, he describes that Brahmaji, who is the Vidhata, who is the creator, Brahmaji has 50 qualities. Lord Shiva has 55 qualities. 50 qualities of Brahma and 5 extra qualities Lord Shiva possesses. So Brahmaji has 50, Lord Shiva has 55 qualities. Vishnu has 60 qualities. The 50 of Brahma, the 55 of Shiva, and extra 5 more qualities. So Lord Vishnu has 60. Brahma 50, Shiva 55, Vishnu 60. It's only Krishna of Vrindavan who possesses 4 extra qualities that no one possesses. Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, Brajendra Nandan Shri Krishna, Nandanandan Shri Krishna, Yashoda Nandan Shri Krishna, Shamasundar Shri Krishna, Radhika Raman Shri Krishna has 4 extra qualities that no one possesses. Krishna has 64 qualities. In fact, 64 is an understatement. Srila Rupa Goswami gives the number 64 so that we understand the superiority of Krishna over even Vishnu and Brahma and Shiva. But actually, Krishna possesses millions and millions and millions of qualities. By saying Krishna possesses only 64, we are limiting his qualities. But just so that we understand the superiority, Rupa Goswami very beautifully in Nectar of Devotion, he says Krishna has 64 qualities. And the first quality of those 4 extra qualities is Rupa Madhuri. Madhuri means sweetness and Rupa means form. Rupa Madhuri, the sweetness of Krishna's form in the land of Vrindavan. These 4 extra qualities are only Krishna and Vrindavan. Even Mathura Krishna doesn't have it. Even Dwarka Krishna doesn't have it. Leave alone Kurukshetra Krishna. It's only Vrindavan Krishna who possesses extra 4 qualities. And the first is Rupa Madhuri, the sweetness of Krishna's form. And we find our acharyas like Vallabhacharya, who is the acharya of the Pushti Marg, where they worship baby Krishna. Vallabhacharya has written thousands and thousands and thousands of verses glorifying Krishna of Vrindavan. Vallabhacharya very beautifully says, Adharam madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram hasitam madhuram hridayam madhuram vadanam madhuram madhuradhipater akhilam madhuram. Very beautiful. He says, oh, everything about Krishna is sweet. His walking is sweet. His talking is sweet. His sidelong glance is sweet. When he speaks the truth, it is sweet. When he lies, it is even more sweet. When he eats butter, it is sweet. When he eats dirt, it's even more sweet. His sakhas are sweet. His sakhis are sweet. His eyes are sweet. His face is sweet. His ears are sweet. His teeth are sweet. Oh, everything about this Krishna is so sweet. The only fear is if we worship this Krishna for a very long time, we may end up being diabetic. The Lord whom we worship is so sweet. Everything about him is very sweet. He will become the bestower of diabetes for all of us. He is that sweet. Yamuna Madhura Vichi Madhura Salilam Madhuram Kamalam Madhuram Madhuradipater Akhilam Madhuram. Even in the land of Vrindavan, Yamuna is sweet. The lotus flowers are sweet. The Gunja Mala is sweet. The forest flowers, Vaijayanti Mala is sweet. Madhuradhipater Akhilam Madhuram. Oh, Vallabhacharya says, I give up. This Lord whom we worship is so sweet. But actually he doesn't give up. Then he again composes a verse. And then he again glorifies the sweetness. And then again he says, oh, he is so sweet. And then again starts glorifying every limb. He writes so many verses glorifying the sweetness of the Supreme Lord. And the human life that we have is meant for this. We have evolved so many times. Jalaja Navalakshani Sthavara Lakshavimshati. We have become birds, we have become animals, we have become insects, we have become reptiles, we have become trees, birds of the air, fish of the ocean. We have become everything. And finally, we have got this rarely achieved human birth. And what is the purpose of this rarely achieved human birth? Param Drishtva Nivartate. To taste the highest, most lofty fruit of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. That is the only purpose of human life. To taste the sweetness of Krishna's Braj pastimes. When we don't get this sweetness, that's when we need Netflix. That's when we need all these things. When we don't get the sweetness of Krishna's Braj pastimes, that's when we need all the material things. When we have Krishna, there is no Trishna. Trishna starting with a T. Trishna means material desires, material hankering. When there is Krishna, there is no Trishna. We, at the present moment, we are licking the bottle of honey from outside, which means we are settling for material happiness. But Srila Prabhupada is so kind. He has opened the bottle of honey. He has opened the jar of honey and is freely distributing that honey to all of us. What is that honey? Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. Prabhupada, through the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam and primarily through the Krishna book, is giving all of us the sweetness of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. And this is the only aim of human life, to taste that sweetness. Where there is Krishna, there can never be Trishna. There can never be material hankering or material desires. Srila Prabhupada, in fact, one Prabhupada disciple by the name Udayananda Prabhu, he very beautifully describes. Udayananda Prabhu was mentioning that in 1976, in Krishna Balaram Mandir, the temple opened in 1975. So in 1976, exactly 1 year later, on the day of Ram Navami, there was a big festival in our Krishna Balaram Mandir. And Prabhupada's day was completely packed from morning 4 a.m. till night. His day was completely packed because it was a festival day, and that too in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada was there for Mangalarti. And then after that, Prabhupada went for a morning walk. And that morning walk, Prabhupada walked for 1.5 hours. And Prabhupada was stressing on many points. Udayananda Prabhu was saying. Prabhupada was being heavy, and he was, whatever points Prabhupada wanted to stress on, Prabhupada was really pressing them really hard. For 1.5 hours, Prabhupada had this morning walk. And they went back. And it is Ram Navami, means it's fasting till about 12 in the afternoon. So Prabhupada came back to Krishna Balaram Mandir, and then there were dignitaries. There were the ministers and senators who wanted to come and meet Srila Prabhupada. So they came and they were talking to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, in a very happy mood, was preaching to them. And this went on for some time. And now, in the evening, Prabhupada had a Pandal program in Mathura, because it was Ram Navami. You see, in India, Sri Ram is worshipped more than Sri Krishna. People easily accept the superiority of Sri Ram, but when it comes to Krishna, there is always a question mark whether Krishna is God or not. So Prabhupada in the evening had a Ram Navami festival in the land of Mathura. So they went from Vrindavan to Mathura, and 20,000 people had come to hear from Srila Prabhupada, Pandal program. And Prabhupada was speaking very heavy. So many people were there, but Prabhupada was not compromising. Prabhupada was as heavy as he's always. And that class went on till about midnight. It was a very long class, 2.5, 3 hours, very unlike of Srila Prabhupada. He gave a very long class. Please don't worry. I'm not going to follow Srila Prabhupada. We are definitely going to finish this class on time. But Prabhupada, he went on for a very long time. And at night, they again came back to Vrindavan. And the disciples were already very tired, already fasting till 12 in the afternoon. And then so many programs throughout the day. They were like really tired. So they came to Vrindavan. And during those days, the guest house was not built in Krishna Balaram Mandir. So all the disciples of Prabhupada were living in Fogla Ashram. The devotees who have been to Vrindavan will know Fogla Ashram. Many times during yatras also, the devotees are made to stay in Fogla Ashram. So the disciples of Prabhupada were living in Fogla Ashram. And Udayananda Prabhu, who was narrating this pastime, he said that we all went to Fogla Ashram while Prabhupada was there in Krishna Balaram Mandir, because Prabhupada's room is there in Krishna Balaram Mandir. Now Udayananda Prabhu and all the disciples of Prabhupada, they go to Fogla Ashram. But interestingly, Udayananda Prabhu, because it was his first visit to the land of India, first visit to Vrindavan, he caught diarrhea. He went to Mathura and he was so tempted to eat jalebis. It's very tempting, especially if you're coming for the first time. They have never seen something like this. So he ate 1, 2, 3, 4, multiple jalebis, one after another. And by the time he went back to Fogla Ashram, diarrhea. He was not even able to sleep at night. He would just rest for 10 minutes, run to the washroom. Again come back, rest for 10 minutes, run to the washroom. This went back and forth, so much so that Udayananda Prabhu thought to himself, there is no purpose. This will just keep going back and forth. I am not going to get any sleep. Let me do one thing. Let me just take a shower and start chanting my japa. Morning 2 o'clock. He was already tired, but he's not getting sleep because of his diarrhea. So he picked up his beads, took his shower, picked up his beads, and walked from Fogla Ashram to our Krishna Balaram Mandir. When he came to Krishna Balaram Mandir, he entered from the backside. We have the Govindas. For those who have been to Krishna Balaram Mandir, from the backside we have the Govindas. Don't worry, if we have not been, very soon by Radharani's mercy, hopefully we will be there, so that next time when we discuss, we can imagine these places in Krishna Balaram Mandir. So when we go from the backside, we have Govindas, and Prabhupada's room is also there. So Udayananda Prabhu entered, and he saw the light was still on in Prabhupada's room, morning 2 o'clock. The light was still on. So Udayananda Prabhu, very secretly, from outside, from the glass, he was seeing. Prabhupada did not see him. Prabhupada was busy. From outside, he was seeing, what is Prabhupada doing at 2 a.m.? Because throughout the day, Prabhupada was busy. Morning walk, Mangal Arti, temple, morning Bhagavatam class, then the dignitaries came, and then he went to Mathura. All this at the age of 80. This is 1976. Giving a 2.5 hour class in Mathura, then again coming back. And at 2 a.m. at night, the light is still on. Udayananda Prabhu was curious. He was seeing from the glass, what is Prabhupada doing? And Prabhupada at 2 a.m. at night with the dictaphone, Prabhupada was saying, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments here by saying that Krishna in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was commenting, night 2 o'clock. The disciples had crashed completely. They were in their 20s and Prabhupada was in his 80s. And the 20s were not able to compete with the 80s. Prabhupada at night 2 o'clock was translating Srimad Bhagavatam, and Udayananda Prabhu says, when I saw this, I was thinking to myself, Prabhupada, there is no need for you to do this. You have spread Krishna consciousness movement in every town and village. That prediction that Gauranga Mahaprabhu did, Prabhupada, you have done it. That prediction that Bhaktivinoda Thakur did in the 1800s, that the Europeans and the Americans and the Indians will come and chant and dance together, Prabhupada, you have done it. There is no need for you, Prabhupada, you can rest. But Prabhupada, no. At 2 a.m. at night, Prabhupada was translating the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Udayananda Prabhu he was saying, when I saw that, I had tears in my eyes. I had tears in my eyes. My eyes were completely moist. I was thinking, if this is the importance Prabhupada is giving for Srimad Bhagavatam, how important is Srimad Bhagavatam in reality? If he is giving up his sleep and at 2 a.m. in the morning he is translating, isn't it time, dear devotees, we also prioritize Srimad Bhagavatam in our life? Srila Prabhupada is ready to give up his sleep so that we can taste the honey that is there in the jar, the honey of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. Because Prabhupada had this fear like Kaviraj Goswami. If I depart this world, how will the world get to know about Krishna's Braja pastimes? So Prabhupada, every night, this was not only one night, every night from 12 to 4, Prabhupada would translate. This was Prabhupada's regular thing. All the Bhaktivedanta purports that we find are the translations between 12 a.m. in the morning and 4 a.m. in the morning. Now you can imagine getting up for morning 4 o'clock, that itself is a big challenge. The alarm rings at 3:30, 3:40, 3:50, 4 o'clock, 4:10, then snooze. It's very difficult. That 1 hour, 1.5 hours of chanting is a monumental task. It's like a mountain on our head. Imagine writing purports at that time. We will say, Prabhupada, you do the writing part. No, we cannot do it. For us, chanting itself is so difficult in the morning. Leave alone writing purports to something. All the Bhaktivedanta purports that we find, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ishopanishad, every single thing is 12 to 4. Because throughout the day, no time for Prabhupada. Disciples are there. So many new visitors are there. Temples have to be created. Traveling has to be there. Where will Prabhupada get the time from? He would do that at night. Hardly any sleep. Prabhupada would hardly sleep. He would just sleep for like 2-3 hours. That's it. Very extraordinary. This is something that normal human beings cannot do. It's very difficult to sleep for 2-3 hours a day. Only someone of the caliber of Srila Prabhupada, those who are very exalted, who are above the bodily needs, those who are Gudakesha, who have conquered sleep, only they can do it. So the reason I wanted to share this pastime that I heard from Udayananda Prabhu is Udayananda Prabhu was saying that the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is so important that Prabhupada is ready to give up his sleep, but at night 2 a.m. is sitting and translating for all of us, so that in this human form of life, we can taste that sweetness, that honey-like sweetness of the Srimad Bhagavatam, primarily Krishna's Braja pastimes. So our Sri Krishna would, with his friends, he would play different games. Krishna would play blind man's buff. We all have probably played when we were small, or the kids probably are still playing, those who are small. You have a blindfold and then you find other people. And Krishna would also play that. As we always mention, it's actually Krishna plays, that's why we play it. And Krishna is the origin. Aham sarvasva prabhava. Everything is emanating from Krishna, not just the planets. The games are also coming from Krishna. Krishna plays those games, that's why we also are enthused to play those games. So Krishna would play different games. And one time, in the place called as Bhandirvan, Krishna and Balaram, they made two groups. Krishna became the captain of one group. Balaram became the captain of another group. Playtime. No school, right? That time, no school, no assignment, no SAT, no GRE, nothing of this. It's just play all the time. And for Krishna, it's so beautiful that even when he goes to Sandipani Muni's ashram, at that time also there is no qualification, there is no entrance exam. Nowadays, you have so many entrance exams to get into one college, one high school, or this, that. For Krishna, nothing. Direct VIP entry. Krishna easily walks into Sandipani Muni's ashram because Krishna knows everything. There is no need for any qualifying exam for Sri Krishna. So Krishna, in Bhandirvan, he called all his friends, and one team captain was Krishna, another team captain was Balaramji. Interestingly, Bhandirvan or Bhandirvat, what means a banyan tree. So Bhandirvat is that place where there is a very gigantic banyan tree. Of course, over a period of time, that banyan tree under which Krishna would play has disappeared, but the Brajavasis have planted another banyan tree there in the same place, which is like a Pratibha. Just like in Vrindavan, the actual murtis are in Jaipur, but in Braj, we have Pratibha murtis. It's only Radharaman who is the original. Our Radharaman is so small that he can be easily hid even under a pillow. Even when Aurangzeb and so many others came, Radharaman can be easily hid under a pillow. He is so chotu, but other deities are big. So only Radharaman is the original deity to be still present in the land of Braj. So in this Bhandirvat, the banyan tree, which is like the Pratibha Murti at the present time, Mother Yashoda would send lunch for Krishna and Balaram. When Krishna and Balaram would play all the while, the lunch would come to Bhandirvat. That was the place where lunch would come. And now groups were made. One side Krishna leading the camp, another side Balaramji leading the camp. And the rule was such that it's going to be, even though it's team, they're going to play individual. So much so that the condition is the loser is going to carry the winner on his back. That's the condition. Whoever loses will have to carry the winner on his back. So everyone said, okay, we are all ready for it. And the game started. And our Lord, who always boasts that he is very powerful, who is very skilled, who is very this, that Lord who very beautifully danced in the hoods of Kaliya, he very easily, less than 5 minutes time, he lost to Sridhama. Sri Krishna very easily lost to Sridham. And now, as the rule was there, Sridham sat on the back of Krishna very royally. He sat on the back of Krishna. The friends don't have this feeling that he is Bhagavan. No feeling like that. He is like, they consider Krishna their normal friend. No one very great. So Krishna picked up Sridham. And on the other side, Balaram defeated another Sakha. So because Balaram defeated another Sakha, Balaram was sitting on the shoulder of that Sakha. Here Krishna was carrying Sridham, while there Balaram was being carried by another Sakha. So Sridham was carrying Krishna, and the rule was they would walk for some time, they would go and touch that banyan tree, and then again they will come back. So Sridham was very nicely, Krishna was walking fast so that very soon he can come back and put Sridham to the ground. And Sridham would tell Krishna that, Krishna, slow, you have lost the game. Do it slowly. Let me nicely sit on your back. Don't be so fast, Krishna. Do it slowly. I want to enjoy this ride. Like you see small children, they play Ghoda Ghadi. When they're small, they sit on the back of their father and they play. So similarly, here Sridham is sitting on the back of the universal father, that is Sri Krishna. Aham Bija Prajapita. He is sitting on the back of the universal father and he's instructing Krishna, go slow, don't go fast. I want to enjoy this ride. On the flip side, here we have Balaramji, who is being carried by another Sakha. So this another friend, he was carrying Balaram. And instead of going and touching that banyan tree, he took Balaram deep inside Bhandirvan. And Balaram was thinking to himself, hey, wait a minute. This is not the game. The game was to go and touch the Bhandirvan tree. Why are you taking me inside? But this friend was taking inside and inside and inside. And Balaram understood there is something wrong. He seems to be an intruder. He doesn't seem to be a normal friend. He is not obeying my instructions. And Balaram started becoming heavy like a mountain. Ananta Shesh, right? He's holding all the planets on his head. Balaram starts becoming heavy like a mountain. And this friend was taking Balaram. All this while he had a smile on his face. But now that Balaram was becoming heavy like a mountain, it was becoming very difficult for him. Like we see, we have that photo of the person holding that Atlas photo where he's holding the whole universe. Similarly, here, this Sakha was holding to Balaramji. But now Balaram had become like that whole planet. He had become like a mountain, very heavy. And this Sakha slowly transformed himself. When the weight of Balaramji was becoming unbearable, he slowly started transforming himself, and in no time he increased in size. So much so that Balaram was very tiny in front of this gigantic demon. Dear devotees, this demon who had disguised himself as a Sakha was none other than Pralambasur. Pralambasur took advantage of Krishna and Balaram's playing Sakhya pastimes, and he came as a friend. But now that Balaram was increasing his weight, he could no longer bear the weight of Balaram, and now he became gigantic, and he became Pralambasur. And Balaramji saw this, and he understood that, wait a minute, he is a demon. And what is he doing in Vrindavan? And how did he carry me? Balaramji understood. And Balaram, in one go, took his fist and punched his fist on the head of Pralambasur. Even before Pralambasur could react, he took his fist and just punched the head of Pralambasur. That's enough. One punch of Balaramji, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, back home, back to Godhead. Balaramji punched so hard, he fell to the ground. He was vomiting blood. His eyes started rolling. And in one punch, Balaramji very easily killed him. I'm reminded that when Prabhupada was once there in India, Prabhupada, he was entering inside a restroom. And you see, in India, sometimes when things are not kept clean, you may have reptiles or so many other things that may come. So Prabhupada was entering into a restroom, and Prabhupada went inside, and Prabhupada saw there was a snake in the wall of that restroom, and Prabhupada was already inside. Prabhupada got very scared, and Prabhupada loudly called out, Jai Pataka! Jai Pataka Maharaj was there. He loudly called out, Jai Pataka! And Jai Pataka Maharaj came running. He said, Prabhupada, what is it? Prabhupada said, it's a snake. Prabhupada was enacting the pastime of being afraid. That personality who is not afraid of heart attacks, that personality who is not afraid of the Jaladuta, that personality who is not afraid of the waves of the ocean, that personality who risks his life and comes to America for 37 days, that personality is now enacting the pastime of being afraid from a snake. So Prabhupada loudly called out, Jai Pataka! And Jai Pataka Maharaj came. And when Jai Pataka Maharaj saw that there was a snake, Prabhupada told Jai Pataka Maharaj, kill it. Because snakes and scorpions are such creatures that can attack. Unlike the cows and the calves, who are very domestic and very sober, scorpions and snakes are very wild. Even if we don't do anything, they will start hissing and they will attack. So Prabhupada said, kill it for the safety of the devotees. How do you kill a snake? How do you kill a snake? Snakes are so venomous. Jayapataka Maharaj is so powerful. With his palm, he smashed the snake to the wall and killed the snake. You can imagine that requires some determination and that requires some courage. Leave alone going close to the snake. To kill the snake requires some dedication. With his palm, in one go, he smashed the snake towards the wall. Gaur Premanande, the snake was gone, back home, back to Godhead. Just like Balaramji smashed Pralambasur and killed Pralambasur. Similarly, Jayapataka Maharaj, to protect his spiritual master, to protect Srila Prabhupada, he killed this snake. So Pralambasur was delivered by our Balaramji. And we find Pralhambasur represents lust. These demons, when they come in the land of Vrindavan, every demon, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes, they represent one anartha. They represent one quality. And Pralambasur represents lust. And the only person who can destroy, who can dissipate lust in our heart is Guru Tattva. It is only Sri Guru who can destroy the forest fire of lust that is there in our heart. And that is why we find we start our day not by glorifying Krishna, we start our day by glorifying Gurudev. Because Sri Guru is that personality who destroys the forest fire of lust in our heart. This is that anartha which takes the most amount of time to leave our consciousness. Sripada Indra Prabhu would make this point multiple times. He would say, all other qualities like greed, anger, pride, jealousy, etc., all of them can be removed. But lust is something that takes a very long time to go from the consciousness. And Gurudev has taken this responsibility of being the cloud and showering torrential rains on the forest fire of lust that is burning in our heart for lifetimes together. So we see Prabhupada, such a master plan. We start the day with Samsara Dava Nalalidha Loka Tranaya Karunya Ghana Ghana Tvam Praptasya Kalyana Gunaranavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhur Kirtana Nritya Gita Vaditramadhyan Manasura Sena Romanchakam Pashrutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shri Vigraharadhana Nitya Namna Shringaratan Mandhiramajanado Yuktasya Bhaktam Stanayunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Swadana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Kritvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shri Radhika Madhava Yorapara Madhurya Lila Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Swadhana Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Nikunjayo Rati Keli Siddhyai Yayali Bhiryo Ktirapeksaniya Tatrati Dakshad Ati Vallabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Sakshadhari Tvena Samasta Shastrer Uktastatha Yata Eva Sadvi Kintu Prabhorya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutopi Dhyayanstu Vamstasya Yasya Sri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Srimad Guru Rashtakamidam Ochair Brahma Muhurte Pathati Prayatnat Yastena Vrindavananata Sakshat Sevaiva Labhya Janushanta Eva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shri Samsara Dava Mangalarti ki Jai. So we find Prabhupada very beautifully starts our day by glorifying Gurudev, and then we start glorifying Shri Krishna. In the morning program also we find Mangalarti glorifies Gurudev, and we have Guru Puja, which again glorifies Gurudev. So more than glorifying Krishna in the morning, we are glorifying Gurudev, because if not for Shri Guru, the anarthas will never be destroyed in the heart. Shri Guru has taken that responsibility of delivering all his disciples, provided the disciples follow his instructions. There is a big if, it's a capital if. If the disciples follow the instruction, then the Guru will deliver. But if the disciples are not following, then it's not Shri Guru's onus to take care of that disciple. So here we find Pralambasur represents lust, and Balaramji, Krishna very beautifully, he gave the task of removing lust of destroying lust to Balaramji. We find in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, there is a personality by the name Chota Haridas. We have two Haridas. One is the senior Haridas, that is Haridas Thakur. And then we have a junior Haridas, also called as Chota Haridas. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was coming to the house of Bhagavan Acharya for prasadam. There was a lunch invitation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited to Bhagavan Acharya's house. And Bhagavan Acharya, he told Chota Haridas that, my dear Chota Haridas is a Brahmana boy. He told Chota Haridas that, please go and collect some food grains. Please go and get some rice so that with that rice I can cook and feed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chota Haridas agreed and he went to the house of Madhavi Devi. Now who is Madhavi Devi? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has three principal associates. First is Swarup Damodar Goswami. Second, Ramananda Rai. And third, a personality by the name Shiki Mahiti. We have a Prabhupada disciple in Atlanta called Shiki Mahiti Prabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has three principal associates, Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Rai, and Shiki Mahiti. Shiki Mahiti's sister is Madhavi Devi. So that's the connection. So now Chota Haridas, to collect rice for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Bhagavan Acharya can later cook, he goes to the house of Madhavi Devi. And Madhavi Devi, dear devotees, is an 80-year-old. She's an old lady. So he goes to the house of Madhavi Devi and collects some rice. And he comes back and gives it to Bhagavan Acharya. And Bhagavan Acharya cooks that rice. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, he feeds. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very in a very happy mood. He's having rice, dal, sabji, he's having everything. I don't know why in every class I give an example of rice, dal, sabji, but that's the context. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having his prasad. And at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very randomly asked this question that, my dear Bhagavan Acharya, where did this rice come from? Where did all this preparation come from? Where did the food grains come from? And Bhagavan Acharya said, oh, my dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chota Haridas, he went to the house of Madhavi Devi and he got the food grains from there. Now Chota Haridas was a Brahmana. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, that Chota Haridas went to the house of a lady. She was 80-year-old, doesn't matter. When Mahaprabhu got to know that Chota Haridas went to the house of an old lady, Mahaprabhu got so angry that he told his servant Govinda, he said, please go and tell Chota Haridas that I will never see his face ever again. Go and tell him that this was the last day he ever saw me and this was the last day I ever saw him. Never again will I give darshan to Chota Haridas. Why? Because Chota Haridas went and begged rice from the house of an old lady when the lady was alone at home. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this was unacceptable for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. While another version of this story is, in that house, there was also a young girl who was a servant of Madhavi Devi. So Chota Haridas, being a young Brahmana, went to the house of someone where there was a young girl who was serving Madhavi Devi, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got so angry that he gave an instruction to Govinda, his servant, that never again I will see Chota Haridas. And this was a thunderbolt for Chota Haridas. Just imagine, after performing so much bhakti, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us that never again will I give you darshan. Krishna comes and tells us, never again you will get darshan. No more Vrindavan yatras, no more Mayapur yatras, no more prasadams, no more darshan, no more Krishna consciousness. For those who are serious, it will be a thunderbolt. The Lord whom we are worshipping for lifetimes together, if he is not wanting to give darshan, what is the purpose of our doing bhakti? Chota Haridas, this was too much for Chota Haridas to take. Chota Haridas started crying and weeping, said, my dear Lord, I didn't know that. I didn't know that your rules are so strict that even if I go to the house of an old lady, you will chastise and reprimand me. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very firm and very strict on his principles. And sometimes this question is asked that, well, why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so heavy? You see, in India, this notion is there that Krishna is always there with the gopis. This notion is there that, oh, Krishna is lusty. Krishna is there with the gopis. So if Krishna is there with the gopis, why is he setting such high rules for the sadhakas? He is there with gopis, no problem. But for us, he's setting such high standards. But actually, if we find, there is not even an iota, there is not even a tinge of lust in Krishna's character. And we will see 5 reasons why Krishna doesn't have lust, not even an iota of lust in his character. First, by chanting Krishna's name, lust in our heart gets dissipated. So how can there be any tinge of lust in his heart? If by chanting his name, lust in our heart is getting dissipated, how can there be any lust in his heart? Second, the sitting place for lust, if you see Bhagavad Gita 101, the sitting place for lust is mind, intelligence, and false ego. But mind, intelligence, and false ego, they are material elements. But Krishna's body is made from Sachitananda, which is a spiritual body. So where will lust sit? Because for lust to sit, there has to be mind, intelligence, and false ego. But Krishna's body is spiritual. So there is no sitting place of lust in Krishna's body. Second point. Third, why will Shukadev Goswami, who is a renunciant, why will he speak about romance if it was mundane romance? Sitting on the banks of Ganga, why will Shukadev Goswami, who's there in a kopin, Radhika's parrot, why will he speak about mundane romance? Fourth, even if he spoke about mundane romance, why will Parikshit Maharaj, Narad Muni, Parashara Muni, Jaimini Rishi, Vyasadev, why will these exalted sages hear to mundane romance, sitting in such a holy, auspicious place? And fifth, even if Shukadev Goswami spoke about mundane romance, even if Parikshit Maharaj spoke about mundane romance, why will Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Yatinam Shiromani, who is Sanyas Shiromani, who is the best among sannyasis, why will Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hear about Radha and Krishna if it was mundane romance? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Gambhira would cry for hours and hours and hours together. It's just basic logic. If it was material romance, if it was mundane romance, why will Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relish it so much? So 5 reasons we see why Krishna, in Krishna's character, there is not even a tinge of lust. First, by chanting Krishna's name, lust in our heart gets dissipated. How can there ever be lust in his character? Second, the sitting place for lust is mind, intelligence, and false ego. But these are material qualities. These are material elements. And Krishna's body is Sachitananda. So there is no sitting place for lust. Third, Shukadev Goswami is the best among renunciants. Why will he speak about romance if it was mundane romance? Fourth, why will Parikshit Maharaj, who has only 2 more days to live, because 10th canto of the Bhagavatam means it is day 5, and we find no person, no dying man, how much ever lusty he is, no dying man will ever hear to mundane romance, especially at the time when he's departing this world. Impossible. But Parikshit Maharaj is relishing. Vyasadev is relishing. Parashara Muni, Jaimini Rishi, Narad Muni, they are all relishing. And fifth and final, last point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sanyas Shiromani. Yatinam Shiromani is the best among sannyasis. Why will Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relish Radha and Krishna's pastimes in Gambhira if it was mundane romance? So we find there is not even an iota of lust in Krishna's character. And likewise, there is not even an iota of lust in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's character. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is setting the standards very high. And through his associates, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching examples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us firm instruction that he will never see Chota Haridas ever again. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually maintained that. He never saw Chota Haridas after that. Chota Haridas would cry and weep, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not see him. And finally, when Chota Haridas understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his heart is not going to melt, Chota Haridas goes to Prayag. He goes to Triveni Sangam and he jumps in Triveni Sangam and gives up his life. What is the purpose of my life if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not going to give me darshan? Yadi se Mahaprabhu na paye kripa dhan Kiba Rajya, Kiba Deha, Saba Akaran. Everything is useless if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not going to give me darshan. So Chota Haridas goes there and jumps in Triveni Sangam and gives up his life. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have a problem with Chota Haridas? Because Chota Haridas, being a Brahmana, being a brahmachari, went to the house of Madhavi Devi, who was a lady. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not bear this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through his own associates, is teaching the principle that lust is something that repels him. With lust in the heart, someone can never get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the point in Krishna Lila, we are finding that Pralambasur represents lust, and Gurudev, as Balaramji, is destroying, smashing and punching Pralambasur to death, and is completely destroying the anartha called as lust. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so skilled, he picks different associates. He picks those associates who are externally born in low-class families, but gives them very high-class designation. He gives them very high-class post. We have Haridas Thakur, who was born in a Muslim Shudra family, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes him Namacharya. Sanatan Goswami has pus and wound all over his body. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes and embraces him. Ramananda Rai is again born in a low family. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes him the Acharya for Rasa Tattva. Ramananda Rai is the Acharya for Rasa Tattva. All the transcendental mellows, whatever we hear, it is coming from Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai was so humble. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked at Rai Ramananda and asked him, "Tumi Rai Ramananda? Are you Ramananda Rai?" And Ramananda Rai said, "My dear Lord, Ami Dasamanda Shudra. I am Ramananda Rai, but I am Dasamanda Shudra. I am servant, I am less intelligent, and I am Shudra." But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu still makes him Rasatattva Acharya. Similarly, Chota Haridas was just used as an instrument. He is the Lord's associate. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uses him as an instrument to teach all the sadhakas that lust is something that repels him completely. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very strict on his principles. He is Namo Mahavadanyaya, but he can also be hard like a thunderbolt. Kusumadapi sukomalam vajradapi kathoram. He can be as heavy as a thunderbolt and as soft as a lotus. So just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted everyone, he picked people from different caste, even though externally they are born in low families. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them very high positions. Similarly, our Prabhupada was also similar. Once, one South Indian gentleman, he came to our ISKCON temple. And when he met Srila Prabhupada, he told Prabhupada that, "Swamiji, in your temple, everything is nice. The deities are nice. The temple is nice. The books are nice. Your disciples are nice. Prasadam is fantastic. Everything is very good. Swamiji, there is one problem." Prabhupada said, "Yes, what is the problem?" And he said, "Swamiji, the problem is your disciples, their pronunciation is not good. They are not pronouncing it right." Prabhupada had Western disciples. So the South Indian gentleman said, "Swamiji, their pronunciation is not good." And Prabhupada, he said, "Yeah, that is correct. Their pronunciation is not good. Why don't you teach them pronunciation? You're a South Indian." You see, South Indians are, they have this, they're generally good in pronunciation. And Prabhupada, he looked at him and said, "You are a South Indian gentleman. Why don't you teach pronunciation?" He said, "Definitely, Swamiji, I will definitely teach all your disciples. Nice pronunciation." And Prabhupada said, "But to teach pronunciation, they are Western disciples. So if you just teach once a week, they will not understand. You have to teach them every day. But because you live very far, commuting every day is difficult. So you should live in the temple so that you can teach every day. But if you live in the temple, you have to give up tea and coffee. And for South Indians, filter coffee is very difficult to give up." When this South Indian gentleman heard that he has to give up filter coffee, he said, "Swamiji, I think the pronunciation is very nice. Let them pronounce the way they are pronouncing. Their pronunciation is very nice." Prabhupada had this amazing way to reply. At different instances, he would give different answers. Another time when this question was raised that, "Swamiji, their pronunciation is not right," Prabhupada immediately shot back by saying, "Their pronunciation is not right, but their renunciation is perfect." The pronunciation may not be good, but the renunciation is perfect. Likewise, another time, the disciples of Prabhupada, they went to Radharaman Mandir. And when they went to Radharaman Mandir, they were talking to the pujaris. So apparently the pujaris told the disciples of Prabhupada that you do bhakti nicely, you chant and hear, so that next life you will get the benefit. You will be bestowed with the service of becoming Radharaman's pujari. You do nicely bhakti, now next life you will become Radharaman's pujari. So the disciples of Prabhupada were perplexed because this is not what they had heard from Prabhupada. So they came back to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, is this true? In this life we will do bhakti only so that we will become pujaris of Radharaman next life? Prabhupada, when he heard this, Prabhupada said, go and tell them that let them do their bhakti to Radharaman properly so that next life they will become pujari in ISKCON temple. Ask them to do their bhakti nicely so that next life they will become ISKCON temple's pujari. Prabhupada would never compromise. He would never let his disciples down. He would always protect and back them. So Prabhupada had the same mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whatever the past was, Prabhupada would always accept. And through his disciples, Prabhupada would also teach principles. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through Chota Haridas, taught the principle of lust. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never accepted him. But this is only external. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Chota Haridas. Chota Haridas is the very dear associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chota Haridas is very good at singing. So how can Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stay away from Chota Haridas singing? So even though externally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected Chota Haridas, it was only to teach a principle to all the sadhakas. In reality, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always embraces all his dear associates. So Pralambasur, who represents lust, was killed this way. And Jagadananda Pandit, in his book called as Prema Vivarta, Jagadananda Pandit, very beautifully, by the way, Jagadananda Pandit is not different from Satyabhama. So Jagadananda Pandit, in his work, he very beautifully writes, Jivhara lalasa hai, iti uti dhai, shishna udara parayana krishna nahi pai. This was Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj's another favorite verse. Many times he would quote this. Jivhara lalasa hai, iti uti dhai. If someone is running here and there for the want of his tongue, even prasadam, Prabhupada would say overeating is not good. Everything in limited quantity is good. Even if it is prasadam, overeating is not very appreciated. So jivhara lalasa hai, iti uti dhai. If someone is running here and there to fulfill the want of his tongue, and shishna udara parayana, if someone cannot control his lust, Krishna nahi pai, he will never get Krishna. The same thing we find Rupa Goswami. He starts the nectar of instruction with this point. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jivha vegam, udhara upasta vegam. Etan vegan yo vishahita dera, sarvam apimam prativimcha shishyat. All the Bhakti Shastri devotees would be knowing this verse, the very first verse of Upadeshamrit. Same point Rupa Goswami makes. With lust, one will never get Krishna. So Pralambasur was on purpose killed by Balaramji because Balaram is Guru Tattva and only Gurudev has the adhikar, has the power, has the strength to remove lust, the darkness of lust, the madness of lust from the devotee's heart. So Pralambasur was killed this way. When Pralambasur was killed, Radharani came there. Srimati Radharani came to that scene and Srimati Radharani looked and she said, good, Balaram has killed Pralambasur, very good. Krishna, you lost to Sridham? I thought you were very powerful. This is your strength? You lost to Sridham? What happened to your dancing on the hoods of Kaliya? What happened to your killing of Putana? This is your strength? You lost to Sridham? And Krishna said, no, I didn't lose. Who told you I lost to Sridham? I didn't lose to Sridham. Radharani said, Krishna, enough of your lying. We know you lost to Sridham. Balaram defeated Pralambasur, but you lost to Sridham? You carried Sridham on your back? Krishna, is that true? And all the Brajagopis were chuckling and they were laughing and they were pulling Krishna's leg. Krishna said, no, I don't lose to anyone. I'm very powerful. I'm very strong. You can go and ask Sridham. I defeated Sridham. Radharani said, Acha, you defeated Sridham? Krishna said, yes, I defeated Sridham. So Radharani said, Acha, if you're so strong, Krishna, let's do one thing. Let us wrestle. Both of us, we will wrestle. Radharani is challenging Krishna. Oh Krishna, let us wrestle. You are strong, right? We will wrestle. Let's see who wins. So Bhandirvan is the place where Krishna goes for wrestling. That is his wrestling arena. All the wrestling pastimes are there. So Radharani challenges. And now Krishna, he knows Radharani's strength, how powerful Radharani is. At the same time, Krishna's friends are there. Krishna doesn't want to give up in front of his friends. So he's managing both. In front of his friends, he's trying to show as if he's very powerful. At the same time, in front of Radharani, he's trying to prove that he's good enough, he's strong enough that he can defeat Radharani. So Radharani said, Acha, let's see, let's have a wrestling match. So Krishna ties his waistcloth and nice, the way wrestlers do. And similarly, Radharani also ties the waistcloth. She puts a nice pagadi and ready for wrestling. And on one side are the Sakhas who are chanting Krishna, 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 Krishna. While on the other side, there are gopis chanting Radhe, 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 Radhe. And then in between, there are friends like Subal and Stoka Krishna and Arjun Sakhā, who are like in between, who are chanting Krishna, Krishna, and who are also chanting Radhe, Radhe, because they are in Sakhiras and Madhuryaras. They are cheering for both. And the wrestling begins. And our Krishna, who boasts so much in Bhagavad Gita that he is powerful, Krishna says, Mama Teja Amsha Sambhava. Krishna says, this is just a spark of my splendor. That Krishna, who when he was there with Arjuna, protected Arjuna throughout. And we find after the Kurukshetra war, Krishna tells Arjuna to get down from the chariot. When Arjuna gets down from the chariot and Krishna gets down from the chariot bursts into pieces. Till the time Krishna was present, the chariot was intact. When Krishna gets down, the chariot is completely gone. So that Krishna, who gave protection to even Arjuna, in less than fraction of a second loses to Srimati Radharani. Radharani in one go punches and slams Krishna, and she sits on the chest of Krishna and is punching and slamming, and our Krishna is lost. That Shama Sundar Shri Krishna, who is so powerful and who dances on the hoods of Kaliya and who has defeated so many demons, loses to Radharani in one go. And Radharani now looks at Krishna and says, say that again, who's strong? Who's strong? Say that again. And Krishna is now hiding his face because he has lost in front of everyone. He has not just lost in front of the gopis, he has lost even in front of his sakhas. And the friends say, oh, Krishna is a loser. He always loses. He loses with us. But I thought we were thinking that he can at least defeat Radharani, but he loses with him also. Krishna, you are very weak. You don't have any strength. Are you not eating? Is Mother Yashoda not feeding you? And Krishna is thinking to himself, show some respect. I am Bhagavan. Show some respect to me. But the friends, they love so much that they are treating Krishna on the same level. Tumi kona bada lok, tumi amisham. Krishna, we are equals. Not even equals, Krishna, we are better than you because we wrestle and we defeat you. So Radharani defeats Shri Krishna in the wrestling game. And the place, so close to Bhandirvat, Bhandirvat is also called as Akshavat. So close to Bhandirvan, there is a place where this pastime took place called as Kashrata Gav. So in Hindi, we say Kasrat karna, which means exercise. So because Radharani and Krishna did some exercise of fighting and wrestling, over a period of time, that Kasrat has become Kashrat. So close to Bhandirvan, there is called as Kashrata Gav, the place where Radharani wrestled with Krishna and defeated Krishna. It's still there. So Krishna is strong, but not stronger than Radharani. Our Radhika is way more stronger than Shri Krishna. So Pralambasur pastime was done in Bhandirvan, and after that Radharani also defeats Krishna, and we have this village called as the Kashrata Gav, close to Bhandirvan. And we find that in Srimad Bhagavatam, this point is made again and again regarding the pastime of Pralambasur. Our Acharyas very beautifully they describe Nishkinchanasya bhagavat bhaja unmukhasya param param jigamishur bhavasagarasya sandarshinam vishainam atha yoshitam cha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshana apyasadhav. What does Shukadev Goswami say? Nishkinchanasya bhagavat bhaja unmukhasya. Someone who wants to do bhajan, nishkinchan bhajan, without any material desires. Nishkinchanasya bhagavat bhaja unmukhasya param param jigamishur bhavasagarasya. And if the desire is to cross bhavasagar, if the desire is to cross over this ocean of repeated birth and death, then there are two things that a sadhaka should always be careful of. Sandarshinam, Vishainam, associating with Vishainam, those who are materialist, those who are not devoted, those who are not performing sadhana, those who are not Krishna conscious. One should reduce our association with them as much as possible. Sandarshinam, Vishainam, Atha Yoshitam cha, association with the opposite gender. Ha hanta vishabhakshana apyasada. Our acharyas describe, oh, these two things, associating with non-devotees and associating with the opposite gender. Ha hanta vishabhakshana apyasada. It's more abominable than drinking poison, because poison kills the body, but associating with the opposite gender and associating with those who are too materialistic, it not just kills the body, it kills our consciousness. It makes us turn away from Sri Krishna. So poison only kills the body, but this kills our consciousness completely. So our acharyas time and again, they say that to make advancement, these two things should be in the top of the head of a sadhaka. Sandarshinam, Vishainam, Atha Yoshitam cha, ha hanta vishabhakshana apyasada. So Pralambasur in this way represents lust in Brajalila. Then after this pastime, when Krishna and Balaram and all their friends, when they went from Bhandirvan, they went to a nearby forest called as Munjatavi. Munjatavi, Munjatavi. The friends went to Munjatavi, and when they went to Munjatavi, the grass was very fresh there. So naturally the cows were tempted. It was a chappan bhog for the cows. So naturally when they saw the grass, they started eating the grass. The calves also followed. So much so that they started eating grass. Slowly they started wandering away. Very soon they started wandering away from Krishna's sight. And when the cows and calves wandered away from Krishna's sight, the friends started calling out to the cows and calves. And in no time, the friends also wandered away. So Krishna was left alone. Cows and calves were gone. Friends were also gone. And Krishna was calling out to everyone. And Krishna couldn't find his friends. Krishna couldn't find the cows and calves. At that time, Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, Krishna understands that Kamsa's men have set Munjatavi, Munjavan on fire. This is the second forest fire, dear devotees. We already had one forest fire before Pralambasur pastime. And now there is another forest fire. This is the only pastime in Brajalila that happens 2 times. There's another forest fire. But the difference is in the previous time, all the Brajavasis were there. But this time, only the friends and the cows were there. And they were loudly calling out to Krishna. Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti. Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti. Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti. Govinda Damodhara Madhaveti. Hey Krishna, protect us. You protected us last time also. Please protect us. And with the wind, the fire was just spreading, and the cows and calves were feeling the heat. The friends were feeling the heat. And Krishna came there. And when Krishna came to that scene, Krishna told his friends to close their eyes. So the friends closed their eyes. And when the friends closed their eyes, Krishna very easily, like last time, he completely swallowed the whole forest fire. And now the question arises, why did Krishna ask them to close their eyes? Because Krishna thought to himself Last time when I ate dirt, they saw me and they went and complained to Mother Yashoda, and they created such a big scene. If they see me swallowing forest fire, they will create such a big scene and Mother Yashoda will again chastise me. Better you close your eyes. Krishna asked all his friends to close their eyes, and all the friends closed their eyes. And after some time when they opened, there was no fire. Everything was back to normal. And the friends, they started discussing among themselves. Maybe Krishna is a demigod. Every time when there's problems, Krishna is protecting us. Maybe Krishna is a demigod. Another friend, when he heard, he said, well, if Krishna is a demigod, then we are also demigods. Because we are also having so much power that we defeat him in wrestling. If he is demigod, we are also demigod. So there is no difference. They brush the topic aside so easily. We worship Krishna every day by offering so many prayers, and the friends brush Krishna aside as if Krishna is some normal boy. The friends say, well, if he is demigod, we are also demigods. In fact, we are better demigods than him. So much love for Sri Krishna. Krishna very easily, he swallowed the forest fire at Munjatavi, at Munjavan. And when Krishna swallowed the forest fire and Balaramji killed the Pralambasur, the friends, along with Krishna and Balaram, they went back to their home. And when they went back to their home, they were so eager to narrate what had happened throughout the day to their parents. The friends, they would go home and one friend would narrate and another friend would say, no, you missed that point. You remember when Pralambasur came, we played this game. Another friend would say, no, you missed that point. So much enthusiasm. They would all in one go in unison. They would narrate these pastimes to their parents. After this, when all the narration was done, Pralambasur was done, the forest fire was done, Shukadev Goswami now takes a tangent. All this while he described Sakhya Ras. All this while he described Vatsalya Ras. Now Shukadev Goswami is about to take a tangent to Madhurya Ras. Shukadev Goswami is now going to start Venugeet. And what Shukadev Goswami narrates and what is Venugeet all about and how it even covers Madhurya Ras, we will see that in our next discussion. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.